Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Heather Sweet, the critic for Agriculture and Forestry and Rural Economic Development. I acknowledge we are gathered here today on the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 7, and I also want to acknowledge the Métis people who share a deep connection with this land. I'm also joined today by Calgary Bular-McCall MLA Irfan Sabir and Calgary Buffalo MLA Joe Cece, and, of course, NDP leader Rachel Notley. Our NDP caucus is so pleased to be down here in force at this year's Calgary Stampede. We look forward to connecting with Calgarians in all of their communities and convening important roundtable discussions with stakeholders from various industries about the future of this great province. Alberta will always be an incredible place to live. We know that there are many great challenges ahead for Alberta. There are great opportunities as well. I know the people I've been talking to want a government that is stable, that they can trust, and that is focused on what matters to them. Top of that list, of course, is cost of living and the impacts of inflation that we haven't seen in 4 decades. How are families going to afford their groceries and put gas in their cars? And that's what we've been hearing about. And then people are deeply concerned about our health care. We need to ensure ambulances, emergency rooms, surgical teams, and family doctors are available to Albertans when they are needed. And while we are addressing the urgent issues of the moment, we need a government that is always mindful of our economic future. Albertans are looking for a plan to create good-paying jobs now and into our future, and supporting businesses in hiring the people that they need. Albertans are looking for leadership on how we can invest and share in our future. And that last piece is what our leader will be speaking about today. So, without further delay, I will now turn things over to Rachel Notley. Rachel.
Well, thank you very much, Heather, and thank you to Joe and Irfan for being here today as well. And I so look forward to joining Heather later this Stampede as we release a set of proposals around the future of Alberta's agricultural sector, and in particular, how we can work to get maximum value for that industry and create good jobs that will be there for the long term. And thank you to everybody who's joining us here today. You know, generation after generation of Albertans have taken a ride on the revenue roller coaster. And while it's exciting on the way up, it can be very, very bumpy on the way down. Now, I spend a lot of hours on Alberta highways, and I often see that bumper sticker. You know the one. It says, "Please God, give me one more oil boom. I promise not to piss it all away next time." Well, we've got one more oil boom, and it is bringing extraordinary revenues into the provincial treasury. My friends, my commitment here today is that should Alberta's NDP form the next government, we will not piss away this boom. And how can you be sure of that? Well, it's pretty simple. I'm here to tell you that when it comes to the surplus, Alberta's NDP is making the following commitments to you. First, we understand that this revenue we are seeing is unreliable and simply cannot be used for ordinary operational spending. The actions we take in government will reflect this understanding. And let me be even more clear. The vast majority of this surplus must be saved and invested for the future. Second, as we consider how best to do that, we will do so through the lens of getting the best return on investment for Albertans. We'll consult experts, and we will take in advice from here in Alberta and, quite frankly, from experts around the world as we move forward. Third, Albertans will not get off the revenue roller coaster until we make real progress on diversifying our economy and creating sustainable, long-term jobs. And with that in mind, a substantial element of our investment strategy must be focused on growing new industries in a forward-looking net zero economy. Fourth, in the short and more immediate term, we also understand that Albertans are facing an emergency cost of living crisis, one not seen or experienced in at least 4 decades. And we understand that action is needed to provide immediate relief to families. Now, we're still considering all the options that could be put in play for that, and we'll have more to say on this in the weeks ahead. Fifth, we believe that healthcare and education are being underfunded in a way that is damaging our quality of life and our future. Albertans should not have to fear that an ambulance won't arrive, that they won't have a family doctor for their kids, and that those kids can't count on receiving a world-class public education. Failure to address these and other challenges in our communities will drive inequality that will ultimately hurt our economy in the long run. And finally, when it comes to this surplus, this massive opportunity to build our future, Albertans deserve a say. After all, this money belongs to you. And that's why later today we will launch a page on albertasfuture.ca where everyday Albertans can sign up to be notified of upcoming consultations on the provincial surplus that we will be holding later this summer and into the fall. I so look forward to working with our whole caucus on this important matter, and especially our finance critic, Shannon Phillips. My friends, this is a critical conversation at a critical moment. It's literally about how we build a roadmap for Alberta's future. We have so many opportunities in front of us, but we must be careful, competent, and strategic in how we explore those opportunities. The decisions we make now will impact our kids, our future leaders. The decisions we make now will also determine whether we're still benefiting from today's royalties in the future. I don't want our kids to be relying solely on the royalties from those darn bumper stickers in that future. In fact, I don't ever want to see those bumper stickers ever again. So I do want the decisions that we make today to set us on a path to stability and prosperity. So thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions that you may have.
And with that, we'll take a pass for questions in the room. Seeing none, we'll go to questions online. A reminder to press *9 if you're calling in or use the raise hand function on Zoom. Please state your name and outlet at the top. Go ahead, caller. Your line is unmuted.
Edmonton Journal. I just want to make sure I understand one thing. I thought I heard you say at the beginning that the surplus would not be spent on operational costs, but then you're talking about the need to expand healthcare. I'm just trying to get both, like have both make sense in my head. How can you not be spending the surplus on operational costs and also want to expand healthcare services?
First of all, what I did say was that the vast majority of the surplus must be directed towards savings and investment. Now, that being said, I do also believe that we're not spending enough on healthcare and education. I think actually that there are ways within our current fiscal framework and through more regular, reliable sources of revenue to ensure that we dedicate adequate resources to healthcare and education. But I will be very clear that the current base is not adequate. What we are seeing is crisis after crisis after crisis in our healthcare system. And to pretend that that's not there would be irresponsible, and it would let down those Albertans who are so desperately concerned that they can't count on healthcare when they need it. But I believe that we can address most of that within our normal fiscal framework with the levers that we already have at our disposal. And the vast majority of the surplus needs to be focused on savings and investments for the future.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, I'm good, thank you.
And we'll take another pass for questions online. A reminder to press *9 if you're dialing in or use the raise hand function on Zoom. And seeing none, that concludes today's press conference. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for watching, and to learn more, check out albertasfuture.ca.